Well, it actually, I know.
All right, everybody. Hello. How are you?
Amazing.
Amazing. Why are you
I
amazing?
never saw your video.
Mindy.
Not because I did a snow angel.
Oh.
I'll tell you that.
Sorry about you. My door, I broke my awning. My door, in case anybody saw that.
I did see that. I saw that, yeah.
Yay, me. It was cold. This white girl don't like that.
Okay,
Okay, so let's talk daily successes just for a second. I have all these fresh new cards, so yay. I will be down here at 2 o'clock to change out so that you've got your cards to do your handwritten cards, right? I need cards to mail for you to give you these cards, right? Right? I took, yeah, if I took them, they got mailed. Awesome. If we're not getting the handwritten cards done, we're not doing the daily success system, right? Same thing with those social media engagements, those posts, all of the direct messages. That's part of why the system works, is when you go and you learn from these great speakers we have and then put it into action in your daily successes. So take that hour that's given to you and do the work, right? And then go home or go wherever and go continue to do the work. So awesome. We had a snow day yesterday, which is great, but that means we had to reschedule Claire. So follow up with leads is going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It will still be Zoomed. I sent an email out yesterday, so it'll still be Zoomed and we will still have a recording if necessary. You guys can watch it that way, but I really hope that you guys will be down here. Did everybody have a good day yesterday?
Yeah.
Did anybody do some extra follow-up while you were stuck at home? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna introduce my friend here, Austin Pekarik. I said that right, didn't I?
You did.
I practiced because I've always said it wrong. Austin, you have been with KW for what, 6 years, 7 years?
Well,
Five?
going into our fifth year.
Fifth
Yeah,
year.
just fifth year.
I feel like I've known him forever. And then where'd you start from?
Prior to real estate?
Yeah,
So I was a photographer before I got into real estate. I had portrait studios. So a very different line of work, but a lot of similarities in how the businesses should operate.
yeah. So he is already a business owner coming into this, which some of you guys can relate to that. You've either been part of a business or something like that. So he already kind of hit the ground running. Now, tell me, in the last couple of years, you've been a part of our ALC.
Mhm.
You've been in the top, definitely top 20%, but weren't you in the top 10? Was it top 10% last year?
I think so.
Think so, something close to that. So I think he knows what he's talking about, guys. And I think he knows about strengthening relationships. Is there anything you want to add to any of that?
When I start talking that well.
Yeah, okay,
I've got
great.
a lot to go over and like, forgive me because I may deviate from the sides a little bit.
They like
but
it.
I think that I teach better from like a genuine place
Mhm.
than I do trying to just read something off of a screen. So if I get off course, just course correct me a little bit.
You'll be good, you'll be good. Guys, thank you so much for giving your time. We appreciate it. All right, the sky is yours.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Hello, how are you guys? Good, well. Good. Well, as she said, my name is Austin. I know some of you. I don't know all of you. We have a lot of new faces in here today, but I'm excited to be talking about relationships in our business. When I was a photographer, as she said prior, relationships were something that I really focused on in the beginning of that business because I knew that if I photographed somebody's senior pictures, I'd probably photograph their family photos and I'd probably photograph their wedding too. It was just a chain reaction. So once I established that relationship with somebody, I knew that if I took good care of that client from beginning to end, I'm probably going to get repeat business, right? Same concept applies in real estate. People obviously don't move as often. Some people do, some people don't, as often as they get photos taken, but it's where the referrals come in, that repeat business, the clients that are doing multiple transactions at a time too. So when I got into real estate, I understood that from the beginning, I'm gonna have to find out how to create a relationship with my clients that isn't, just an inch deep, but a mile deep. Because if I can grow my relationships deep and I can develop a really good, think of it as like a root system for a plant or a tree. If I can develop a really good root system and a really good relationship with my clients, they're not gonna wanna go to some other realtor because they already know, like, and trust me. So that's like key in real estate relationships, is just getting people to know, like, and trust you. Because once you have that under your belt, they're going to keep coming back. So one thing, like, before we get into everything here, there's 4 relationships that I have in my business off the top of my head that I kind of wanted to go over really quick. These are 4 people, and I'm going to go how I met them, where they come from, all of that stuff, because I think that's important. Because where do we find those relationships? That's the biggest thing a lot of people forget about, or like don't address, is like, yes, relationships are great, but where do we find them? So I have 4 clients that just these 4, I've done nearly 10 million in volume off of these 4 clients. They are very loyal to me. They're like friends, they're like family, and those are the relationships that have set me up for a much more larger volume than I anticipated, hitting. It's the referrals that they send me, the repeat business that they do. Those 4 relationships have been key to setting me up, and you have to find those. Honestly, open houses have been huge in finding those relationships for me. 2 of those clients, I've done 6 transactions with one from an open house. And right now I've done 4 transactions with another one from an open house. Just those 2 is pushing 5 million in volume. Just those 2 relationships, both from open houses. And that's just from being in person, face to face, getting to know them and them getting to know you. Then nurturing that relationship as time goes on. So, all right, any questions before we dive into the material? You good? Go ahead.
For the open houses, when you're building that relationship with them, like, do you pay just core attention to them, or are you kind of balancing different ones?
At an open house, so when I'm looking at focusing and building a relationship, my goal is to not work with everybody that comes in my open house. And I think that that's the mistake that a lot of people try to make when they do an open house is, I need you to sign in, I want all of your information, and I'm gonna call you after it's done. If somebody were to pull that sales technique on me, I would not answer the phone when they did call. I would give them my information because I understand I'm not gonna be rude, but I would not answer their call when they call me back because they didn't take time right then and there to know me. Am I maybe being a disservice to those others who come in? Yes, because I am focusing on the one that I feel is going to be the most fruitful. And I think that it's important to learn how to identify which clients or which people as they're coming in are going to be serious, because it's important to not waste your time. And so, yeah, I'm mostly focusing on one at a time, as much as I can focus on one. That way they know that I'm trying to get to know them, really develop a connection instead of here's a detail sheet, I'll call you after the open house. Shanna, it's not moving.
Move your mouse over to the other side. Click it. No. That's why I sit back here for the first 20 minutes, guys. That's it, class is over. And then go back and forth. Is that what you want to move?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I
Okay.
feel like I need a hat and a.
So today's agenda, I want to establish the mindset, identify your goals, devise a plan, we'll recap, and then your daily success systems, okay? So establishing mindset, like I said earlier, understanding why relationships are important is crucial, guys. Like I said, 4 relationships, 10 million in volume, that's a comfortable way to do business because you're not constantly, pounding the pavements trying to find new business when you've got relationships out there working for you. So I really want you guys to understand how crucial relationships are in a business like this. It truly is a mindset that we have to go into. Anytime we meet somebody, anytime I go up and I'm talking to somebody, I want to understand what their relationship with me could be and what are your real estate needs? Like, it is a constant thing on my mind that I'm always thinking of. I mean, I don't go out to dinner and not talk to somebody about real estate while I'm at dinner. It's something it's constantly on my mind, and it should be the same for you guys as well. Know that growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. Gary Keller. Okay, leads versus contacts. Can somebody explain to me what the difference in a lead is versus a contact?
A lead is someone that you just have basic information on. Maybe you've had a conversation or the right to talk to them a little bit, but a contact is more of a two-way conversation.
Flip it.
Oh, flip it?
It's the other way
Okay.
around, isn't it? Pretty sure it is. So a contact, if I'm not mistaken, is somebody that you have a two-way conversation with, whereas a lead is somebody you have the right to have a one-way conversation with. Does that make sense? So like a lead, or did you say that the first time? Oh, my bad. So I had it reversed.
Yeah, you wanna hear-
I make mistakes. So a lead, a one-way conversation that you have the right to call them up and say, hey, look, I found, a property for you guys. Do you want to go see it? A contact is somebody that you're having a two-way conversation with, that you're just starting the relationship with. So how are you guys lead capturing right now?
Open houses.
Okay,
Same.
The gym.
Jim,
My sphere.
okay,
Cold calls.
cold calls. Anybody else? Those are all really good ways, and they're all ways that I started capturing leads as well in my business in the beginning. Cold calling was huge. Cold calling was something that I did a lot of, and some of those relationships came from cold calling in the beginning. Those contacts that I created in the beginning were crucial because I would sit in my little teeny tiny apartment when I first moved up here, Paulina and I would, and we would cold call for hours. And the contacts that we got from that are still fruitful today. So cold calling is huge. Open houses are huge. Those are all great ways to get in leads. How do you prepare a contact to become a lead?
Conversations. I mean, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Starting to build who they are and what their needs are, and then begin addressing this.
Perfect. Asking questions. Asking questions to understand what their needs are so that you can be a better service to them. Perfect. Okay, this is kind of what we went over. Talking about leads versus contacts. Focus on building relationships and take market share. This is a really, really valid quote because the deeper your relationships are, guys, the more people are going to refer you. The deeper that you build your root system with these clients, the more people are going to naturally start knowing who you are without having to spend money on marketing, because your clients are doing the marketing for you. They're out there, hey, I need a real estate agent and I know that your house sold with this guy. Can I have his contact information? That it's free. And it's the most valuable form of gaining more and more business. So just know that as we're building relationships, develop those roots with those clients as deep as you can. That way, they're doing the work for you in the long run. Because as you get in this business and you stay in this business longer, cold calling gets less fun. Open houses get less fun. Door knocking gets less fun. You get tired, you get burnt out, and that happens. And it happens to everybody. But we have to find ways so that we can ease pressure on ourselves as business owners so that we're not constantly facing that burnout of like, gosh, I don't want to cold call today. Well, if you have relationships with people and they're referring you and they're helping put your name out there, you don't have to cold call every day. You don't have to do these things after you've been in the business for 5 years. In the beginning, it's crucial because you have to find those relationships. But once you do and you strengthen those, the business starts to flow in naturally. Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay. Today's conversation is tomorrow's transaction. Like I was saying, you never know who you may come across and end up doing business with. I go out to restaurants and I sit at the bar by myself 2-3 times a week. I get more business sitting there talking to random people who I have no idea who they are and just having a casual conversation. It's an unintrusive way to talk to people. And the referrals that I've got from that, they're like, oh, I met this real estate agent over at Haruno while I was having sushi. Really nice guy. You might give him a call. They're like, I get those calls because, you can just talk to people, build that trust. Those relationships that you develop with just anybody can still be fruitful, even if it is just somebody in passing. Once you meet your new contacts, you either do business with them immediately or you don't. Either way, once you've met them, put them in your database and stay in touch with them forever. It's like I was saying, those random people that I meet, I still get their contact information. I may not put them in my database right away because I'm not overly aggressive and like, oh, I'm going to get them in my database and put them on a 36 touch campaign because we haven't sometimes even talked about real estate yet, but I get them on Facebook. I find other ways to get them involved in my sphere so that when they start seeing my social media posts come up, like, oh, that's that guy I met at Haruno. I remember him and he sells real estate. I've been thinking about buying land. I've been thinking about buying a house. I'm thinking about selling a house. That's how it happens. So I may not immediately get them in the database, but I've got them in my sphere through Facebook or Instagram, things like that. Okay. Lead follow-up. So how are you guys doing your follow-up right now? Are you time blocking it? Is it randomly happening? Is it not happening? How are you guys doing your follow-up?
I'm not doing it.
Okay, why?
I think I just get in my own head for the most part.
Okay, about what?
Yeah. I always feel like it's gonna go bad, but it always goes good whenever I do make the phone call. So
What if it does go bad?
yeah, I guess I will.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been told no over the phone more times than I can count. But the reason lead follow-up is important with people is I have 2 clients that I did 0 business with them for the first year. But I always followed up weekly or bi-weekly with just random things, not even related to real estate sometimes. I think most people are afraid of follow-up because we don't know what to say, is what scares most of us from doing lead follow-up. I think most of us are so in our heads thinking that we have to talk to them about something real estate related. That's not true. We can find other ways to follow up with our leads through conversations that we've had prior. If you meet somebody at an open house, for example, and I'm a guy, so I obviously wouldn't say this, but as a girl, for example, if a girl comes in and she's got a big diamond ring on or something, right? A girl can relate to that. Start finding little things that you can relate to people. And then after you've set little seeds of conversation in your follow-up, bring those back. Like, hey, I remember that, you had that diamond ring. I'm just curious, where do you get that cleaned? I'm needing to get mine cleaned. Or talk to them about their dogs, pets, restaurants. Restaurants are the #1 thing I go to because everybody loves food. So our follow-up doesn't have to be just based around real estate because nobody wants to hear from the agent that is sending a weekly text saying, hey, are you ready to buy a house yet? Or same thing in car sales. Nobody wants the car salesman, hey, are you ready to trade in your car yet? Because I still get those texts and I never do it. I don't even have that car anymore. That was 4 cars ago. But the reality is, guys, don't be afraid to follow up. And so if you're in your head about it, think about ways that you can follow up with them that it's not real estate related. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like if you're at an open house and like nobody's there and like you're standing in the front door, like waiting for somebody and a guy pulls up in a really cool car, right?
Yes.
When he comes in talking about the car, then in your follow-up, bring up things about cars. Find ways to spark relationships with people that are deeper than just the forefront of real estate. Nobody wants to deal with just a salesperson. And really, I don't think of us as real estate agents as salespeople. We're connectors. We're relationship builders. We help connect people to services that they need. We help build relationships with clients and our vendors. Like, we're not salespeople. We are providing value to people. We're value providers. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay, goal number 1, when we get contacts, it's converting them to closed business. That's why we have to strengthen those relationships so that they do become closed business. Stay on top of mind. Now, I've mentioned a couple of these things. How do we stay on top of our clients' mind? What are some of the systems that Keller Williams has in place that are free to you to use just because you're an agent at Keller that will help you stay top of mind with these people?
Smart plans.
Smart plans? I can sit here quiet for a really long time. I do not mind. Are cards not a top of mind thing that you're filling out in here?
Social media.
Abby, what a great.
I just got my pictures taken today for free.
Hey, I got mine done the other day
I'm
too.
gonna put them on a card and so
There you
that's
go.
helpful.
Exactly, guys, there's a lot of ways to stay top of mind. This is crucial because I forget the percentage, but 80-some% or 70-some% of people said they would use the same agent again, but they couldn't remember who their agent was. Losing a $10,000 check over something because they forgot who you were, I would lose sleep at night, and it's happened. We have to stay top of mind all the time. It's exhausting sometimes. But when you start totaling up the numbers of the relationships that you've lost because you didn't stay top of mind, it really sucks. There's 3 guys that I went to high school with that I have not talked to since. We were friends in high school. They've moved up here to the Springfield area. All of them use different realtors. All bought about $250,000 houses. You do the math, 3 homes, $6,000 roughly each. That's 18 grand that I now don't have because I didn't stay top of mind. It is crucial that we know to stay on top of everybody's mind. Leverage mind share for referral business. This is something that I was touching base on earlier as well. How do we leverage mind share for referral business? So building trust with the people we come in contact with. If we don't transact with somebody in real estate for a while, but they're asking us questions about, hey, who's a good power washer that I could have come, power wash my house? I want to provide that contact so I can start building trust because they may not refer me, their own business just yet. But because I'm providing them value, their neighbor may want to sell, their friend may want to sell, their sons or daughters may want to buy a house and they may refer me. Even though I may not transact with that person directly, just having their mind share and providing value to them over time, that is going to reward me in some way, shape, or form. I'm a big believer in giving without the expectation of receiving anything back. And I think that that is something in real estate, most agents really need to adapt that mindset too, of understanding that you may give into a relationship for a year and see nothing from it. You may see absolutely nothing from these relationships, but understand that you're giving them value. And most people feel guilty if they go to somebody else understanding what they've done or what you've done over that year. You may have not, sold a house for them yet, but you provided all of this value. They're going to want to give something back. Most people are that way. So we have to be understanding though, for the first year, we may get nothing back. But when it comes, it happens and it will come, but we have to not get impatient with what these relationships and how long they're taking. It takes time. Somebody's not going to refer you right away. You have to focus on building that relationship, because the more mind share that you have with the more people that you've built relationships with, the more referrals that are naturally going to pour into your system. When I first started, guys, I beat the pavements. I was cold calling every day, doing open houses every weekend, sometimes 4 on weekend, 11 to 1 on Saturday, 2 to 4 on Saturday, 11 to 1 on Sunday, and 2 to 4 on Sunday. Like, I was doing everything I could to just get in front of as many people as I possibly can. And once I started to just focus on building relationships and getting to know these people, some of them were referring me business that I never expected. And now, it's a snowball effect. The more people that you talk to, this is a contact sport, guys. More people that you talk to, the more people you're gonna be able to get in their minds and live rent-free and get referrals for. Any questions so far? Any ahas? Now, I will sit here for a minute because I want to hear what people have to say. Go ahead.
Doing open houses like you do, like from 11 to 1, 2 to 4, not just one day of the weekend.
Yeah, because now I'm going from doing one open house and talking to, think of it like this. So instead of talking to 2 people, because the reality is an open house, it's going to be really, really, really hard to develop a deep, strong relationship with more than 2 people. It's really hard to do that, because if you've got a lot of people coming in, I want to identify who I can talk to. So instead of talking to 2 people on Sunday from 2 to 4, I'm now talking to 8 people over the weekend. So the chances of me getting a deal out of 2 versus 8 is a significant difference. And so it's totally doable to do open houses that way. Don't do it on the same house. Obviously do a different house, 11 to 1, and a different house from 2 to 4. But that totally set me up, and it was a fast track. Yes, I sacrificed my weekends for the first year. I didn't really have a lot of free time, but anything worth doing doesn't come easy. And so I'm glad that you liked that, because I think that if you were to do that for 6 solid months, just pound it out, do exactly that system, you would have more leads than you would know what to do with.
I have a question.
Go for it.
The circle prospecting and door knocking, has that helped you a lot too?
I've never done circle prospecting and door knocking for open houses. It's never been my thing. I've done it in the past. It's not been fruitful for me. I'm not going to sit and say that it's not fruitful for others though, because it has been. I think any method that Keller teaches can be fruitful. It depends on the person and how it's applied. For me, I think that, the cold calling for the open houses, it is a great intro to developing connections around that, where for an open house, but where I've had more luck when it comes to like door knocking and things is, or cold calling, is it when I sell a listing or when I have a listing like that goes live? Mostly when I sell them, because that's when the neighbors get curious. Because they see the signs gone, like, okay, well, one, who's our neighbor? And two, how much did the house sell for? That's when their minds are at peak activity about what's going on. So that's typically when I door knock or cold call. Because they're curious and they're going to be asking me questions at that point too. Like, well, hey, I know it's sold, what it's sell for. And they'll ask those big questions in the beginning too. I just have better luck after the fact. That's just me. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never thought to do that. What does your dialogue sound like when you're talking to the people after you've sold the house?
After I've sold the house, so I just call and I say, hey, like, this is the agent that had, your neighbor's house for sale at 764 Fox Hill. We just closed on that house. The neighbors are moving in. It's a sweet family from Seattle. And they're gonna be moving in on blah, blah, blah date. Just want to give you a heads up. They do have moving trucks coming in, et cetera. And then I stop. They start asking questions. They almost always do. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes like, okay, thanks for the heads up. And that's okay. That's totally okay if that's the case. But most of them will start asking questions like, well, how much did the house sell for? Oh, well, we went for blah, blah, blah. Did it really? I never would have thought this neighborhood would have hit X price per square foot. That's just insane. And then you just open up the conversation. And then if I have multiple offers, I say, hey, look, just so you know too, I had 3 other offers on this house. So if people still looking to move into your neighborhood, if you know of any neighbors looking to sell, give me a call.
I can't believe I've never done this.
It is the
That's wonderful.
easiest way to just get your foot in the door without being intrusive. Because most people are afraid to pick up the phone. Most people are afraid to just talk to people, but if we know what we want to talk to them about and we have information to give them, it makes the call a lot easier because then we're not going into it blind like, hey, oh yeah, this is Austin and Keller Williams. Oh yeah, no, I was just calling, I listed your neighbor's house. Just chill conversation. When you can really get them engaged and you can really, get information from them, you can really develop some strong relationships from those neighbors. Neighbors know everything about the subdivision. They know who's in and out. They know who's been there the longest. It truly is a very valuable way to get in. Any other ahas or questions right
I don't really have a question, but I just like what you said about not trying to build a relationship with everyone that walks in the door in an open house, because that kind of gets overwhelming, and just focusing on who's being nice and kind of zoning in on them a little bit.
The reality is, and please don't take what I'm about to say as arrogant or rude, please. I don't want to do business with everybody.
Yeah.
Simple fact, I don't. I don't relate to everybody and not everybody relates to me, and that's okay. That's why the world goes round. But at the end of the day, like, I don't want to do business with everybody that walks in the door because I want to do business with people that I like. I want to do business with people that I enjoy talking to. I want to do business with people that fill my cup. And that's the great thing about our business, guys. We don't have to work with everybody that we come across. We can be picky. And the reality is, you pick up a client that you don't click with, it's gonna be a hell of a transaction because they're not gonna trust you.
Yeah.
When you can find clients that you click with and that you enjoy working with, it makes the whole process a lot easier. So it really truly makes sense to focus more on finding just a couple key people at every open house than trying to go for everybody. There's an analogy, if a fox sees 5 rabbits, he's not going to chase all of them. He's not going to be able to catch all of them. But if he focuses on one, probably going to have a pretty good chance of catching it. I've always applied that philosophy to open houses. I don't want everybody. I just want one or two key people that I can focus on building a really good relationship with there. And if I can develop a good relationship within 20, 30 minutes, I pretty much know that I may not do business with them immediately, but something will come of it. Anything else?
What would you do if there was someone you didn't want to work with that just kept coming back to you? How would you kind of?
I have one right now.
Push them away without them going and telling everybody, oh, he didn't answer my call. He was rude, you know.
So depends on the size of the deal. It depends on the size of like, and I know that that sounds terrible, but in the beginning of my business, I would take everything because I wanted to make money. Like I had to at that time. Like I still have to, don't get me wrong. Like, but at that time, like I really had to. And so I took on everybody. And some of them have circled back around. And my young ignorance bliss in the beginning of real estate simply did not realize how difficult some of these people were. Now that they've come back around, some of them have been referred out simply because the time and the energy that they require is far too much when you've got 6 other deals, 7 other deals going on. So they get referred out mostly. Or I hand them off to Paulina because Paulina and she has a different personality than I have. And there are certain people that click with her better than they click with me. And there are certain people that click with me better than they do her. And so it's kind of nice having a relationship, a close relationship with another agent, because if you ever get a client that you don't want to work with, the relationship is still worth something. It's still worth at least a referral fee. So refer it off, still get paid, but then you don't have the headache. And so one thing, for me that I wanted to focus on when I got out of photography was I hated my life when I was a photographer. I absolutely hated it. I worked for all these people I did not like. They were rude, mean, just nasty people. And I knew that I didn't want to live my life constantly like hating it. And I realized that there are certain personality types I don't click with. And when I see those like red flags pop up in those clients, I do refer them off.
So what's a polite way of doing that? I mean, just say, hey, I'm too busy. I'm gonna send you over to
I
somebody
never
else.
say I'm too busy, but there is a nice way to put it. So if I'm gonna hand a client off to somebody, typically the best way to do that is say, hey, look, so I know that you guys are looking to do this in this time period. This is what I've got going on, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to appropriately accommodate your needs. So my business partner, my referral partner is gonna help, through this process. And, she's gonna take over from here. You can still call me if you need anything. Like, I'm not gonna completely cut the relationship off. Like, I'm still going to be there if needed, but I'm gonna step out as much as I can. But just by, saying, I don't think I can appropriately help at this time.
Okay.
That's the polite way of saying, I'm too busy, or I just don't want to do it. Any other questions? Okay. We're going to devise a plan. It's the fun part. Okay, these touch plans, guys, this is what we were talking about earlier with how do we stay in touch with people so that we stay top of mind. So the 19 to connect and 36 to convert. Are you guys familiar with these? Go ahead. Are you guys familiar with these?
Yes.
Okay. You guys have these set up in your command?
Couple.
Yeah, a couple people do, most people don't. Okay. So when we're doing these touch plans, guys, we need to find a way to communicate value to them every time. As I said earlier, though, it doesn't always have to be real estate based. This 19 to connect, the 4 touches, the quarterly phone calls, it doesn't just have to be real estate related, guys. We can make these phone calls about other things. As we develop a client profile per se, in Command, you should have a client profile of age, their address, all their information. Start taking notes on personal things though. For women, what kind of purse do they have? Pay attention to those things. What kind of shoes are they wearing? Guys, what kind of tools do they have? Like, find things to connect with them and make notes on that. Because when you're making these calls or you're sending them letters or you're sending them birthday cards, like if you know somebody is a coffee drinker because they came to the showing with a Starbucks cup in hand. When they have a birthday, send them a birthday card with a Starbucks gift card. It doesn't have to be real estate related. Like I said, it can be anything. Keeping you top of mind just with a $5 Starbucks gift card for their birthday. How many agents are actually doing that? They're going to remember who you are if you're doing those things. Or if they've got kids. When you're going through, like just the other day at the final walkthrough, a couple have little kids and they're picking out their rooms and they're talking about all the things that they want in there. Well, when kids' birthdays comes around, we're gonna, send something small for the rooms. Little things that are gonna keep you up here, because most agents are not going to do that. Most agents are not even going to remember the kids' birthdays. Guys, in Command, we can input those things. So just those little things that we can do to stay top of mind. 36 to convert. Now, have you guys gone through, you have within the prior courses, right? Okay, so I'm not gonna dig into each one, but every touch needs to provide value of some kind. It does not have to be real estate value, but it can be any value you see fit. If it's about to be cold, just like we had the negative temperatures, send out a mass email about remembering to let your pipes drip and open the cabinet doors. Little things like that. It may not seem like a lot, but if I would have opened my cabinet doors and let my lines drip this year, it would have saved me from 2 days of having frozen pipes because I didn't have water for 2 days because I didn't do it. But it's those little things, guys. Okay. The 6 connection questions. Include a MoFear, make offer for immediate response. Have you guys heard of this before? Okay, think about when you get on a website, for example, and the first thing that pops up is enter your email for 25% off your first order. That is an offer for an immediate response. How can we do something similar in real estate?
One thing I've thought about is offering a little bit of a home buyer's guide or something like that, and just say, here's a link to a PDF.
Perfect. That's exactly, what you should be doing. Finding ways that we can offer to get them something, but so we can get their information. And so we can get them in the database, make an immediate offer, say, hey, look, here's your home buyer's guide. Now that I've got your email, now they're in your database. Now you can start really staying top of mind with these touches and things like that. That's a perfect way to do it. Any other ways? What about like for an immediate response, free CMAs? Think about how many people are curious about the value of their home. Free CMA, most people are going to want to know. Why would they not take you up on that? Okay, let's develop your 36 touch plan. I'll go back to this slide so that you can look at the 36 touches. What page you guys should be on? Yeah, my instruction panel over here is like 163 pages, so I don't know if the number is a little.
It's 12.7.
Okay.
Then are we doing this as a group or you want us to individually do this?
Individually. And then after you guys do it, we'll kind of discuss amongst ourselves. If you have questions on this too, let me know. I don't want you to feel like you're going into this blindly. So like, if you want to know what I do, or if you have questions about what we do, feel free to ask.
So I have a question.
Go for it.
Whenever you're talking to somebody in an open house
Mhm.
and they have already an agent, do you still keep on talking to them, but just not real estate related, or do you just like?
It depends. I mean, if they are asking me questions, I'm not going to not answer the questions. If it's about the house, I'm going to answer the questions. I'm not gonna pursue to get their information. though.
Okay.
Like, and that's the same, like, I would expect the same thing from other agents. I know it doesn't work that way. I know there are agents out there that have probed to get my clients, because my clients have told me,
Yeah.
but I don't do that because I expect people to do it the same to me.
Okay.
And so if somebody tells me they have an agent, I back off. I don't want their information. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I treat people how I want to be treated.
Okay.
And I do the same, like, I do not want to step on somebody's toes. But like I said, if they ask me a question, I will answer it. But I'm not going to pursue anything. And oftentimes I'll call the agent after the open out if I know the agent. And I will tell them, hey, so-and-so came through. They were asking me questions about the house. You might just follow up.
Okay.
So
I
I
always
won't
do
pursue.
that too, and I think that's huge
It
because
is.
they're not gonna then step on your toes later. You've already set the precedent that, hey, your client came in, I'm letting you know so that you can follow up with them. And it eliminates any sort of confusion, or if the agent says, oh yeah, I was talking to a different agent, like, what?
Yeah,
You know, it's already been brought to their attention, they already know.
Exactly.
Austin, these promotional direct mail items that I'm not gonna do, should I replace them with something?
So like, yeah, like the 4 different touches, like promotional direct mail, that can be something else. That can be like the birthday cards.
No.
That could be something, other than, but getting something in the mail is a nice touch. A handwritten card in the mail, it's a very nice touch. Like, I always like even getting a handwritten card in the mail because you know what, guys, people don't do it anymore. We've gone to a digital age. Nobody writes cards anymore. It is such a nice touch to get a card that's handwritten from somebody. Like, such a nice thing. I mean, I keep cards. Like, I may never look at them again, but it's nice that I have them. But doing things like that, it makes somebody feel special. People will forget what you've said and done. People will never forget how you make them feel. So if you can make somebody feel special in this relationship with them, they're going to remember that. They may forget that you messed up on an inspection item 2 years ago, but they're not going to forget how you made them feel. I'll give you guys like 5-6 more minutes. Well, please ask questions about this kind of stuff. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm throwing you to the wolves.
I'll just throw this out there. As I'm looking at this, I'm looking at what is my event going to be?
Mhm.
And then I'm basing those phone calls. One of them is gonna be on about that event. So if you choose one, it kind of fills in the others.
And the thing is too, like with those events, guys, like it doesn't have to be like a big production. Like, it doesn't have to be like I'm renting out this massive, room and throwing a dinner party for my client. Like, it doesn't have to be anything like that, guys. Like, an event can be as something as simple as having them come by and pick up pies here at the office. Or what Paulina did one year, and I thought it was really, really smart, dropping off Christmas ornaments. You can consider that an event because you call them or like a week prior, and you say, hey, this day and this time, I'm gonna be driving by, you have all your clients mapped out, and I'm gonna be dropping off an ornament for you. There's little things that you can do that don't have to be this big, expensive production that you can create events out of. 5 more minutes. And one other thing to keep in mind too, you can be in touch with your clients more than this and it not seem overwhelming. Remember I mentioned Facebook and social media earlier? I get all of my clients on there as much as I can. And I will spend about an hour a day just scrolling through my Facebook. You see, Facebook lets you put your friends on lists. So you can organize your Facebook friends. And I have a client list. So I can go through and see all of my clients' Facebook interactions, and I can like, comment, share, do all sorts of things with them where I'm not necessarily having to just follow this plan. I mean, we do follow this, but if you can be in touch more and find ways to get more personal with your clients, because they want to do business with people that they trust. If you have an understanding of their family dynamic and you know that they just went on a vacation to Jamaica, and you can ask them about the food and the experience, you can develop a strong relationship just through social media, guys. So don't forget that, like, while this is very, very important, there are ways that you can implement additional things on top of this that are not much more effort. Goodness, you could do it in 30 minutes a day. It doesn't, Facebook actually auto-populates comments for you now. So you can scroll through and do this in no time. Same thing with Facebook birthdays. Your command may automatically send it out, but go on their Facebook and do it too. It takes 5 minutes to go on Facebook and tell each and every person happy birthday. Couple more minutes. Need a little bit more time. Give you guys a couple more minutes. One thing I do want to throw in, that one to cement down at the bottom. One thing I found with listing clients, when you provide them a value on the house and you give them like a free CMA, this is a chance to really impress them. And it's a way that you can really cement the relationship with people. If you go in with a really, really good listing presentation and you really impress them with the data that you're providing, you can totally cement that relationship right then and there. That is a really, really easy way with sellers. When you're going in and you're talking to them at their home, at their kitchen table, and you just blow them away with a really, really good listing presentation that you're prepared, you're quick, you've studied the neighborhood and you know what's going on, that is a quick way to get yourself cemented in with that client. I've officially finished my coffee, so in like 15 minutes, if I'm up here shaking, just know it's coffee, nothing else.
Where are you from originally?
Where am I from originally?
Yeah.
Mountain View, Missouri,
Missouri.
town of 2,600 people,
Where's that at?
about an hour and a half east of here.
East. Okay.
Little tiny town. I started the photography business down there. And I ended up, I mean, there's, you know, I don't mind small town life. Just the opportunity for what I wanted to do and where I wanted to take my life in there. And I know that, and that's okay. So I left and I don't regret it.
Good.
Don't regret it. But it's only about an hour and a half away. It's a really easy drive. Pretty much straight shot. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Give you guys a little extra time, so we're gonna go past this too. You guys got your touches done, you did that. Okay, then so smart plans, you guys have gone over smart plans in your prior courses, correct? Okay, if you do not have those set up, get them set up. It's not hard to do. Relationships, guys, these smart plans, they do the heavy lifting for you. And I know that it's been preached before, but just doing these smart plans and staying in touch with people, the business that you will pick up that you didn't even know was transacting is insane. Like when you have these smart plans in place and you're doing the things that we are preaching at Keller and you genuinely plug into these systems, there are people that they may not reach out to you for a year, 6 months, 18 months, but one day some email that you send out on your smart plan is going to hit their inbox and it's going to hit something with them and they're going to call. These smart plans, you really, really, really need to be utilizing this stuff because it's doing all of the legwork for you. Get them implemented, and it's plug and play and forget it. and you're good. Okay, so how has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets were new to you today?
I enjoyed the providing value for free. You know, they don't have to give you anything. You're supposed to put your value out there and not expect anything back. And if a byproduct does come by, amazing.
It's important.
I liked your open house idea on how to just focus on like a few relationships instead of like every single person that comes in and strive for better.
Yeah. Quality over quantity. That's the biggest thing that I think people need to understand, like, you can go buy Zillow leads and Realtor leads and all of these lead sources that are out there. Problem is, they're not always quality. So like in business, when you've got a little bit of money to play with, you can take yourself a really long way and you can make it seem that like you have a bunch of business and that you're closing all of these deals, but how profitable are you? Because you can go spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month easily on these lead system sources, and the quality of those leads is not going to be great. So like you can pump a bunch of money into it, and in the reality, are you breaking even on the back end? It's so much more important to find quality leads that you can develop a strong relationship with, rather than just, you know, going out buying leads or trying to find all of these people to just throw into your database. Like the reality is, I have people in my database that like I've started taking out because like, one, I know I'm not going to transact with these people. And two, like the relationship just isn't there. And like, there's nothing that I can do to rekindle or kindle relationships with some of those people in my database. It just doesn't make sense to have them there. So it's focusing on the quality of, and building a quality relationship too with them. Because like, if you have a half-assed relationship with somebody, excuse my language, doesn't mean, it's not near as valuable as somebody that you've got a fully invested relationship with. What do you feel differently about? What was most meaningful to you?
You've encouraged me to just grow more roots, like you said, and build that long-term value, focus on the few. So yeah, I really like that.
Long-term value is a big thing. So I've got two clients right now that both, one was a cold call, one was an open house lead. So I cold called client number one at the beginning of 2020. They had a house as a for sale by owner. They had it listed, we listed it for $875. It was a for sale by owner. I wasn't afraid to call them. I just went for it, right? I followed up with them for a total of 10 months. And I just provided little bits of value anytime that I could. And it may have been like, hey, like our garage door has some damage, like who can we call to fix it? So I focused on just giving them little bits of value in that time. They called me, and like I said, 10 months has gone by. And she's like, I think we're ready for you to list the house. So I get everything ready. I list the house for them. We sell the house for $810,000. They bought a $580,000 house, a $155,000 piece of land. We later sold the house they bought for $500,000 for $600K. And they bought a $940,000 house with me. So we're looking at Coffee's kicking in, I'm getting jittery. Oh, and we sold that piece of land that they bought for 155 for 190. $3.2 million in volume from a cold call, 90,000 in commission dollars from one client. And that's just doing a cold call that I didn't do business with for 10 months, but I focused on providing value to, and then one day it finally hit. And then this is what it turned into. Client number 2, I met at an open house. They did no business with me for 18 months. I showed them in that 18 months, probably 8 or 9 different homes. I randomly followed up with them on, some of those properties, but I was never pushy because I knew they were looking for something specific. I just provided little bits of value to them from time to time. They would call, say, hey, 8 months has gone by. Do you think the value of our house has changed at all? And of course, keep in mind, back a couple years ago, values were changing like every 6 months, every 3 months, like they were going up so quickly. So I did almost 18 months of work for these guys with no reward, okay? I ended up selling their listing. I met them at that open house, had no idea what kind of house they had. When I first looked at the house, we thought it was like a 350. We ended up selling it for $495,000 later on. They sold that house with me, bought a $300,000 house. I'm now selling that $300,000 house for $330,000. They had a small lot in a neighborhood that I sold for them for $60,000. Sorry, my handwriting is really sloppy over here. They bought another piece of land with me for $118,000. We're selling that land now for $132,000. We actually just closed on it. And they're buying an $800,000 property. So what does that put us at?
About 60K.
$2.2 million in volume. And you're right about 60K commission. 2 relationships. They didn't do business with me for a very long time, but I never gave up on those relationships. So when you're doing your follow-up and you're doing these calls to people, it may seem like you are totally wasting your time, because I felt like that a lot. But this is a long-term business, guys. This is not something that you plug into and then overnight you've got 20 clients begging you to sell their house. Like, this is something that you have to invest in, because the more you invest in it, the more that you'll get back in return. So this isn't going to happen just tomorrow. You have to focus on building those relationships with people, but those relationships are out there, guys. If you just go out there and you meet people, you talk to people, and you focus on, finding ways to bring them value and developing a connection with them, those relationships are out there. The reality of it is most agents in this business don't focus on the relationship. They're so focused on the dollar. And yes, we all have to make money to live, and we all have to make money to eat, and that's super important. And I get it. Like, I've been broke, and I understand, like, it sucks, and we just want to get that commission check so that, like, we can breathe. Like, I get it, but we can't focus on the commissions. We can't have commission breath in this business. So yes, you may be pouring 6 months of your time into something and see nothing in return. But guys, when it hits, it hits. And those relationships, when you're pouring into them, you're going to get value back. Like, just know that while you may not see the results today or tomorrow or next week or next month, they're coming. It just takes time. Both of these people, it was 10 months, 12 months worth of work that I had absolutely nothing in return for, but it really paid off in the end. And I had to be patient, and I had to give myself time and understanding that I can't force people to transact either. People will transact when they're ready to. You stay top of mind, and you follow the systems, and you do the things that we're telling you to do, and you implement the 19 to connect and 36 to convert, and you're staying in touch with people, these relationships will happen. They are out there. It is totally doable. Like, this is not rocket science. We make it complicated. Don't make it complicated. Just have trust in the process. Yes, it's going to take time, but it is doable. Anything else that you guys found meaningful? We've got some time to kill, so we can just talk about relationships. Although I've been single for 27 years, I don't know why I'm talking about relationships. I figured out real estate relationships though, I think. Yeah, just something that you wanted to say.
I think that just that realization, just of that, those examples right there, man.
I wanted to give a real life example, because when I was sitting there 4 or 5 years ago and people were talking about like, well, I have this client, blah, 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 they own a business, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that's great. But where did it come from? Like, how do I get that? Like, where do I find it? And truthfully, it's face-to-face interaction. Like, this is totally doable. Like, anybody can do this. Like, there is nothing that is stopping any of you in here from going out and finding somebody at an open house or cold calling somebody and finding this. Like, go for it.
And like you said, if they're not ready now, their neighbor might be, their mom might be, you know, even if they have an aunt who's a realtor, they might prefer to work with you.
You know how many of my clients have family members that are realtors that they won't work with?
Do they tell you that, or do you? try
Oh, no,
to
they
hide
tell
it?
me,
Oh.
and I'm totally okay with that. And in fact, it
Sorry,
kind
Aunt
of
Linda.
makes me feel good knowing that they use me and not the family member.
Closing gifts.
And a lot of, the reality is a lot of people don't want family in their finances.
That makes sense.
And so, and that's a really good, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a really good objection handler too. If I do meet somebody and they're like, well, my cousin twice removed on my dad's side that we're not divorced from, he's a realtor. Well, do you really want your family and your finances? Probably not. Most don't. So it's a really good way to, if anybody ever says, well, you've got a family member, you know, I've got a family member that's a realtor. Do you want them in your finances? It's really personal information. Like, most don't. I don't. Okay, what else? Go for it.
When you cold call, where do you get that list of contacts from?
So I use Land Voice is what I use. We buy an annual subscription to it because it's significantly cheaper to do that, but they've dropped their prices too. I think now you can get Land Voice for like under $100 a month. Like, and there's no contract with it, is the nice thing too. But that's when, well, when we very first started too, we used Fast People Search. It took a whole heck of a lot longer because going through scrubbing all of these lists, trying to figure out who's on the DNC and who's not on the DNC and making sure the numbers were accurate. And a lot of times they weren't. It was a lot of work, but that's what we did in the beginning when we had no money. Paulina and I would sit there for hours and just scrub all these names and call and call and call. And then we bought Land Voice, and huge time saver. Huge time saver. But Land Voice now, the data, you know, it's pretty accurate. And we get all of our expired listings, canceled listings, neighborhood searches for like circle prospecting through there. There's a few other things that they offer too. I can't remember though.
For sale by owner.
For sale by owners. And I mean, that's the great thing with for sale by owners, their numbers are on Zillow most of the time. And so like, you don't have to pay for that.
You use a dialer?
I don't use a dialer. Again, when I am cold calling, and I don't cold call, I'll be honest, like I used to love cold calling, and I still do. It's a lot of fun. But I've become more picky about what I am cold calling and who I am cold calling. Because with like a dialer, you know, it's just, you dials 3 numbers, whoever picks up first is, you know, takes the call. I want to kind of have a plan going into it a little bit more. And so now, instead of like trying to crank out 50 cold calls in a day and talk to X number of people, I'm more focused on like, okay, I have these 5 listings and 5 neighborhoods that I'm really focused on getting. So I'm going to study those 5 neighborhoods. I'm going to develop an understanding of what's going on in that neighborhood. So like, what's price per square foot, days on market, what is that looking like? Then I call. And I focus on just a few listings at a time. I'm not trying to take 20 listings a month. Like, yeah, we'll build there, but you know, I'm focusing on just going after what I want. So I'm not using a dialer. I'm not using any fancy system or anything. I'm just focusing on going after the homes I want to list. Don't get me wrong. I get the listings that I don't want to sell. Cause like those $3,000 checks on a $100,000 house, they add up. Like you sell 5 of those in a year, that's 15 grand. I think my math is right. Like, that's a chunk of change. But when I'm going after and I'm prospecting, I want to go after a certain clientele. I want to go after a certain niche client. That's my goal. I don't want to, like I said earlier, I don't want to work with everybody. So I'm not going to call everybody. I'm not going to use a dialer to try to get in touch with as many people as I can. Yes, the goal is to get in front of as many people as I can. But I think one thing we need to realize, we don't have to talk to 100 people a day for this to be a fruitful business. When we focus on strengthening those roots and getting those really deep with people, we can talk to 5 different people a day. We can even talk to 3 different people a day. Because the better quality your relationships, the less number of people you have to talk to on the back end to do the same amount of business. So if you can really get in there and focus on what you're trying to go for. So like, I know I want my average price point to be around $400,000 a year. So I focus on finding that. I focus on going to that. So I'm not trying to talk to 20 people 2-way conversation a day. I'm trying to talk to a smaller group. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, if you noticed earlier when he was talking about going to the bar and having drinks, he's going to happy hour at Haruno, not
Dennis's place.
Dennis's, or Dirty Monkey, or Drunken Monkey, whatever that place is.
Hey, I've been there though. I've been there.
All I'm saying is, you choose your place that you're hanging out to run into the people that is where he wants his business to be.
Yeah, you have to position yourself where your clients are.
And I think everybody's clients are gonna be different. So if you're doing an open house, you're probably not looking at that 150 to 250 range that some people refer to as a sweet spot.
No.
So,
I typically won't do an open house Now, don't get me wrong, I have listings that like the seller's request that I do personally that are like 350, which that's still a great open house, and I'm happy with that average price point, because a few 350s, a few 500s, some in the 150 range. I mean, I'm gonna average out to 400. As long as my average is sitting close to the 400 range, I'm happy. That is what matters to me. So when I'm doing an open house though, to try and find business, very rarely will I try to do one under 500,000. And there's a couple of reasons for this that I go that route too. I don't love working with first-time home buyers. That is not my forte. First-time home buyers are needy, and that is okay. Like, this is a complicated process that they've never gone through before, and I understand. Like, it is a lot, and I'm happy to explain that to somebody. And I work with first-time home buyers, but if that were like the focus of my business, I would be working 10 times harder than I do now. And the reality is, like, I don't want to work that hard. Like, I work hard, but I don't want to work that hard to where I'm having to explain the same thing to 6, 7 different people in a transaction going on at the same time. So that's why I do higher price point open houses, because a first-time home buyer typically isn't walking into a $500,000 open house. That is typically your second or third first-time home buyer, or people relocating to the area. They moved here for a job transfer, a job replacement. That's why I focus on those, because one, they understand the process more so than a first-time home buyer. Two, their finances are together. There is nothing more frustrating than being in a deal and at the end, you find out that they're short $2,500 on closing costs. And it happens. Or they don't have the money for closing costs at all. Like, these things happen. Like, and I don't want to have that stress in my business. The reality with the real estate business is you can make this business whatever you want it to be. Like, you do not have to serve each and every person you come in contact with. You can build this business to be what you want it to. So yeah, I am focusing on those second and third time home buyers, because a lot of times if they're coming into that open house, and to further explain on how we get like this many, a lot of times they have a house to sell too, if they're trying to buy in that price point. So not only am I going to help them buy, but I'm probably going to help them list. So now I'm double dipping that. So focusing not necessarily on just a first-time home buyer has been really good for me. The thing is, people need to serve those people. And I did a lot in the beginning, but I mean, I had to build a cash reserve. I had to get myself established again, and I had to like get myself going before I could take the time to focus on doing some of this stuff. But once I started getting that figured out and really focusing on what I want my client to look like, then I could start honing in on how to do lead generation better. Any other questions?
Just to kind of reiterate or put it in more context, because we've seen other instructors have basically said the exact opposite as him, right? So they avoid this price point because they probably already have bought a house, they already have an agent, they already have a relationship with agents. But I think that what's important to realize is that every single one of us is individual and has different strengths and weaknesses. I don't have his ability to connect with somebody and pull them away from an agent they've been working with. Not saying you're pulling or poaching, but I'm not necessarily going to make people love me. And most people do. And I'm annoying. I like numbers. I'm not, so if I tried to do exactly what he's doing, I think I would fail miserably. I absolutely love educating people. I was a teacher before I got into this business. Yeah, it might be more work. I feel so much more satisfied after helping this first-time home buyer that for me, it fills my heart. It's filling my cup. So he's not wrong. it might not be right for you is all, and everything you're
Exactly.
hearing in here, you have to put it in context of who am I and what makes me happy.
Yep, 100%. That's what I was saying earlier, like one thing is not gonna work for two people. And that's totally okay. When I was doing photography, even in real estate, I would just listen to what everybody else was doing. The most dangerous person is the most silent one in the room. And I would just listen to what conversations were. And I would take bits and pieces of what I heard all of these people were doing, and then I combined it into what I thought fit for me. Because all of our brains think differently. Like the reality is, like, I'm not up at 6 a.m. every day, like following a super strict structure. Like, I would be miserable if I had to follow a super strict structure. I have structure in my life, don't get me wrong, like I do, but I don't live in a super strict way, and some people thrive on structure. Some people have to have that structure to move forward. I just think everybody has their own, like you're saying, strengths and weaknesses. That's the beautiful thing about what we do. You can apply your strengths in any way. My weakness is I don't like holding hands, like with clients. I don't like that. Like, I want them to trust me and know that I've got it handled. And if I have a problem, I will call you. And I like that relationship with my clients. I like that they know that I will take care of them. I will call if I need something. And no, I stay in touch with my people. I do, but I'm not the type to hold hands. It's just not my thing. And you know, for some people like you, that's great. I wish it filled my cup. At the end of the day, I'd go home and have to finish a bottle of wine. I do that anyway. Okay, any other questions right now? You had one.
Oh, yeah, you had taught me just about, really setting the grounds for teaching clients how to respect you and your boundaries. Like one time you're like, it's 8 o'clock, don't reach out. They need to know you are not working right now. Yes, you are available to help, to serve, but also you have a life as well. Now, if it's detrimental, yeah, they can reach out and you can respond. But that did teach me a lot, so that I'm not draining myself in places where it doesn't need draining and can still maintain a healthy self, relationship balance.
Yeah, it's a huge part of developing a relationship with your clients too. Setting proper expectations and boundaries with your clients, guys, is crucial. Like, I have a couple of clients that don't quite understand client boundaries. And if it's past a certain time, I just ignore it. It is not my obligation to respond to you at 8 o'clock at night. That is my time. Does your job call you at 8 o'clock at night? Probably not, because you clocked off at 5 and you're done. I have to have my time too. And with clients, there are some that, like, if they call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, we need you over here now to list our house, I'll be over there on my road at 3 a.m. listing a house, guarantee it. There are some that I have with these guys. I will be there at 3 a.m. No problem at all. But you have to set those proper expectations with people, because if you don't, they will run and walk all over you. I've always said, like, one thing that I got out of the photography business for is because I let my clients control me. And I let them do what they wanted to do. I responded anytime they called, day or night. I dropped everything I was doing. I was a people pleaser. Most agents are naturally people pleasers, and that's okay. But I had to learn how to not be. And I had to learn that I have to have boundaries with myself and with other people so that I don't go crazy. I am an introverted extrovert. So, like, when I'm done here, I'm probably gonna go like home and sit on my couch and like not talk for 2 hours, because I'm gonna be drained. But that's just, we all have differences. And I don't, where was I going with that?
Boundaries.
Oh, boundaries,
Yeah,
that's where I
yeah,
was,
yeah,
boundaries, I
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
that one. But I'm gonna go home and not talk to anybody for probably 2 hours, because I have to have that time to recharge. And if you don't have the right boundaries in business, your clients will run all over you and totally take advantage of you. So you have to make sure that you're not allowing your clients to control your expectations, or to control your schedule. Sorry, not your expectations. Set those expectations with your clients. They'll call you at 6:30 in the morning. They'll call you at midnight. Like, I'm not kidding. I have a client that called me at midnight one time. I did not answer. I'm not going to at midnight, Jesus. But it happens. So set those boundaries with people. I'm glad you brought that up. Any other questions? Anything, you can ask anything. I'm an open book.
So like follow up, how often do you follow up like with that FISBO? You said you follow up for 10 months,
Mhm.
right? So do you follow up every week, every 2 weeks, once a month?
So my follow-up strategy is different for every client. Because I'm not looking to get them to list it immediately. Like, I understand some of these are going to take time. So my follow-up strategy is a little bit different. I typically was in touch with them every week about something. But it most of the time wasn't even real estate related. A lot of the times it was just casual conversation. If I can make my clients like my friends to a degree, that's my goal. Like, if I can get them to trust me to the point where I can just be like, hey, I was just checking in. How's your guys' week going? I know that you guys were getting, the carpet cleaned on Tuesday. Just wanted to see how the carpet cleaners did. Just little things that I can create a casual conversation out of. Things that most agents are not doing. They're just like, hey, I know you told me to reach out in 6 months, and okay, well, 6 months has passed. Are you ready to sell your house yet? No. There's no relationship there. If I've been talking to them about their dog, what kind of dog food their dog eats, they're probably gonna want to list their house with me because I show that I care. Like, as much as I can stay in touch with people, so it's about a weekly conversation. But there's really not a per se strategy that I have just totally implemented, and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'm sending out a text to all my clients and doing my follow-up. Like, no, I'm not doing that. That in a perfect world, yes, but we're not in a perfect world, and there's not perfect clients. Like, and there's not a perfect agent out there either. Like, lead generating and follow-up doesn't have to be at 9 a.m. on Tuesday every day, like every Tuesday. It can be at Wednesday at 5 o'clock if I want it to be. Like I said, I have structure, but my structure is flexible. Like, if I don't make my Tuesday morning 9 a.m. follow-up calls, maybe I'll do it Wednesday at noon. Like, if it's, as long as it's on my calendar and it's done, that is all that matters to me. So follow-up happens whenever I do follow up, but it's always on my calendar. That's the important part. It's on the calendar. If it's something that's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. So as long as I know that it's there and I can see my task for that day, perfect. And if I have any complications, I just move it over the next day if I can. So I for the longest time tried to have like a super structured business where I did my cold calling. And I will say, we did do our cold calling always from 9 to 11. In the beginning, we did always do it from that time. Most people are more apt to answer the phone in the morning because they're not tired of talking to people. It's the morning. So you're more apt to get an answer in the morning on the phone. So cold calling did always happen in the morning. However, like with like cold calling, 9 to 11, I got that out of the way in the morning. That gave me the rest of my day to do whatever else I wanted to with. So if I wanted to do follow-up at 5 p.m. that night, I totally could. When I was trying to live super structured and have like the super strict schedule, it stressed me out. Because the reality is, things don't always go according to plan. Like, things very rarely go according to plan. So why stress myself out every day trying to accommodate this insanely strict scheduling when I just give myself grace and make sure it's done? But just have it on the calendar. If it doesn't get done today from 9 to 11, it'll get done tomorrow. Or maybe it'll get done from 2 to 4 today. Like, my follow-up chain's pretty random, but it's consistent is the thing. Like, as long as I make my weekly touch in my follow-up, I'm good. That weekly touch can happen on Friday of the week prior, and it can happen on Tuesday the next week. As long as it's done and you have it on your calendar, that's all that matters. Any other questions or anything else you would like to discuss? We've got about 25 minutes and we will use it.
You've also built a good connection with like your repairmen to where they'll put you on the top of the list and
Yes.
and then you can also build the value with your clients. I've heard you say, hey, I have a guy and he gets me in as soon as he can.
Yeah.
And they're like, perfect. All these other little things are just good to go.
Leveraging your vendor relationships is huge. So does anybody kind of know what I mean by leveraging your vendor relationships? Like she said, I've got a couple of repairmen that I literally think they would probably drop everything they were doing if I called right now and said, I need something done. Like I send them so much business that they take care of me, which in turn helps me take care of my clients. And if we've got really good relationships with vendors and people within our communities, who are they probably going to send a referral to when they think about somebody wanting to buy or sell? Who sends them the most amount of business? Probably going to be you. So like, find people that you connect with. Like, find people that you enjoy doing business with. Like, I've got a couple of repairmen that they're just super cool people, and I really enjoy talking to them. They're fun to do business with. Like my lenders, like I go get drinks with my lenders because they're like friends of mine. Like I don't want this to feel like work. I don't want to wake up and feel like, oh, I gotta go meet a lender for lunch. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want to be excited about going out and doing things. Like, life is short. We should have fun. Go ahead. Did you have something to say? Oh, I thought you raised your hand up. I'm sorry. Life's short though, guys. Like, if you're not happy, figure out why and change it. Like, I've never understood why people stay unhappy. Don't settle for that. Like, that's why real estate's so great. You can make this business literally whatever you want it to be. If you want to sell foreclosures all day long, you wouldn't have made it the last 2 years, but now they're coming back. So if you want to sell foreclosures all day long, great. You're going to deal with banks and horrible systems all day long. Have fun with it. If you want to work with first-time home buyers, go for it. If that fills your cup, do that. If you want to work with the second and third home buyers, go for that. Like, you can make this business whatever you want it to be. You can work with whoever you want to. You can have whatever vendors you want to have. Like, just know that it is your business that you can develop and grow into whatever you want it to. You had something else?
Yes, give me a second. I just forgot it.
You're good. But do you guys understand like why these relationships in the very beginning of your career are so crucial to really hold on to and develop and try to make something of them, even if you're not communicating with them about real estate?
Oh, I remember now. You could make, if you want to connect with just your friends and your sphere, you might have several that do side gigs more than you realize. So you could make a Facebook post, for example, saying, hey, I'm in real estate and I would love to provide a strong network. Drop your business name, drop what you do, and I will be sure to meet with you for coffee and then refer you out or whatever.
Yeah.
Boom, we've got all these businesses. Now you can like them and like their business page and engage in another way.
Social media is super powerful. I mean, and especially like with vendors, because the easiest way to like meet more people is like when you're starting to tag these other businesses or other people in post. Because then their friends are now seeing your post. And so vendor relationships are really, really crucial too, on top of client relationships. Honestly, any relationship you have is crucial. My relationship with my bartenders and servers is just as important to me as it is my clients. I tip an ungodly excessive amount and I shouldn't, but I do it because when I go in there and they see me twice a week, they take care of me, and like the referrals that I have picked up just from like servers, it happened. Like, hey, like my mom and my dad have been thinking about selling their house. Like, I know that you're in here and you do real estate. Like, and I thought I'd tell, you about my parents. Like, can you, help them? That happens. Like, take care of people around you and they will take care of you. Like, if I have a $25 bill at a restaurant, I tip $25. I do not care. When I go back, the service that I get is extremely exceptional. And the relationship, now I know they're gonna want to serve and talk to me anytime I come in there. And now I've got a connection that I really didn't do anything to do or anything to get. I just started talking to them and tipped them well. Any relationship, anybody that you come in contact with can be a crucial part of your business, but you never know it. Like, that's why we have to be power connectors and find ways to connect with everybody we can. And then once we figure out who we want to do business with, keep pursuing those relationships. The referrals will come, this is not complicated. You can literally talk to anybody, anywhere and find business. Most agents don't work hard enough. Or you're afraid to talk to people. And if you are, that's okay. Let's figure out why you're afraid to talk to people. If you're afraid to talk to people, we can figure that out, I think. Maybe not. I'm not a therapist. I try to be. Any other questions or ahas or anything that you're curious about that I can help with? Anything you're struggling with in your business? Or any limiting beliefs that you guys may have about doing any of the stuff that we talked about today? I know some of you guys got thoughts. Somebody doesn't say something, I'll pick on somebody. You haven't said much.
Something stupid that I just don't like doing is putting out signs for open houses.
I hate it. I totally get it. You know how many, this sounds terrible, but you know how many times I've driven by one of my open house signs, I'm like, gosh, that's been there for like 2 months. I really need to get, there is one on the east side of Springfield still sitting there. It's been there about 8 months. And I just have picked it up. Because somebody keeps mowing around it too.
Did you have a sign get stolen, but somebody called you
I did.
off of
So
it?
here's what, one time, I knew one of my signs was missing, but I didn't really think much of it. Like, I'm talking like the $37 expensive ones, not like the cheap open house signs. Like, I'm like, my sign's missing. So I get a phone call one day from this random number, and she goes, hey, like, see, you've got this house over here on the corner of Lincoln and I don't know, Amherst or something for sale. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I do not have a house for sale over there. I'm pulling it up on the map. I'm like looking for like 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out what house this is. I'm like, lady, I really don't know what house this is. But I was like, are you interested in buying the house? Like, what can I help you with? And she's like, well, I live down the street and I'm thinking about selling my house. So out of luck, I go over there, I look at her house and I list it. And after the fact, I was like, can you tell me where you found that sign? So I go over to the house. Somebody had stolen my sign from a listing like a year prior, put it in the yard of this random house. And she called me off of it and I got a listing from it. So,
Marketing for you.
hey, if anybody wants to steal some more of my signs, I think that's a violation. I'll pay the fee. It gets me a listing.
Cut the tape, cut the tape.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Business comes from the strangest places. Like, you never know where your next lead could come from. And so you just have to always be on your A game. Sometimes that's exhausting, but always be on your A game and always be prepared for the unexpected. Because you never know what could happen in this industry. I mean, it's a fun business and there's a lot of benefits to it. I can't see myself doing anything else. And I think that, you know, if you focus on really just taking care of everybody around you and expecting nothing in return, you'll be fine. You know, if you really implement and understand that mindset of giving without the expectation of receiving, that will take you far, very, very far in this business. So I got 14 minutes to go. Anything, anybody else? Just, oh, go ahead.
Share your phone number with us.
So I'll write it up here.
Could we get it in the chat as well?
Yeah. How many people do I have on? Okay. Okay. Any other questions or anything you're curious about that I could help with?
I do have one little niche I've been struggling with is getting email addresses. I looked at my database and I've only got like 12% of my contacts that have email addresses.
Okay. Why do you feel like you're struggling to get email addresses?
Whenever I talk to somebody, I ask them, hey, you know, obviously you probably know their name. Hey, what's your number? You know, I can figure out that either give me an address or whatever, but the email is just kind of an odd thing to ask for. And the reason I ask that specifically is the smart plans that I'm trying to put them on, like the neighborhood nurture and stuff like that. I need the emails for.
So I've just made it a part of my routine. And I think that that's a limiting belief that we have, that you'll have to work through, because I don't think an email is an odd thing to ask for. When you go into the grocery store or anywhere now, they're asking you to enter your email, date of birth, your blood type, your social security number, and your home address. Like, I don't think, I mean, I think that that's something that you're just gonna have to work through and do, because you can't be afraid to ask for that information. If I ever feel like somebody's hesitant to give me the information, I'll say, look, I'm not gonna email you all the time, but I was like, I need your email so I can send you some stuff. Like, it's easier if you just give it to me now than me trying to get it from you later.
Fair enough.
And they'll give it to you. Don't feel nervous asking for information. I would be nervous not to ask for information. The more information that you can get about people when you're out and about, get it. Now, obviously, if I meet somebody at a restaurant and bar, I'm not gonna be like, hey, can I get your email? Like, I'm not gonna do that. But once we're on Facebook and like we started going back and forth, they're liking my post, I'm liking their post. Yeah, I'm gonna go in for the kill and get the email address.
So the people that you don't have the email, is it your sphere?
Yeah,
So those people, I would totally feel comfortable calling
Yeah.
or whatever contact information you have and say, hey, I'm going through, I'm starting my real estate business. One of the things I want to provide to my clients is a monthly email showing what's sold in their neighborhood. I'd really like to get you on that. What is your
Yeah.
email address? Or, you know, I want to show what's sold, whatever it is, but you're going to provide them something and then they're going to give you a reason to ask for it.
Don't be afraid to ask for that kind of stuff. So, I'm glad you pitched that in, 'cause it's a great way to do it.
And I tell people, I'm trying to grow my business. I sure would appreciate your help.
Yeah, I think there's a
They're
way.
here, they want to help you, right?
I think there's a way to word that that sounds better than saying I'm trying to grow my business, because I'm trying to grow my business almost sounds desperate. I think there's a way that you can approach it by saying, I'm trying to find a way that I can better serve and communicate with people in my sphere. Could I get your email address? Because one thing, one of my business coaches taught me in the photography business is we never want to sound desperate for business. And so that was one thing that's always been taught to me is like, if we approach it like trying to serve better or make it seem like we're giving them, which we are, and you totally provide that. I just wouldn't say I'm trying to grow my business. That's
And
the,
really, if we look at bold, we're not supposed to say the word try anyway.
right,
I am.
yeah. Yeah, I am growing my business is a much better way to say I am trying to grow my business.
Yep.
That is. Any other questions, concerns, anything else you guys don't like doing? Go for it.
Well, I was thinking about the open houses and thinking about what I can do better. And I was thinking, you know, about what you were saying about building the relationship. And with that, you know, at the end, I catch them before they leave and, you know, I say, hey, I've got this little sign-in sheet, you know, if you would like to help me out and, you know, something to that effect. I guess what I'm asking, is there a balance between assertiveness and like, oh, I don't mind if you do this, like, you know,
Yes, there
you know what
is.
I'm saying?
There is, and you know, naturally, my voice is assertive. So you will have to find ways to be assertive with people. And I don't use the sign-in sheet at open houses.
Good stuff.
It's not my thing. I don't, like I said, I don't want to work with everybody that comes through my open house. So when I'm talking to people and I'm trying to get their information, if I've identified somebody that I want to get their information, I say, hey, look, I'm not gonna call you and I'm not gonna text you like every week. I probably will, but I always say, I'm not gonna do that. Like, could I get your number and I'll text you some listings that you asked about? Or I'll send you an email with some listings that I asked about, and I'll text you when I send the email. And I just have my phone ready to go. If I just know how to control the conversation and how to position the questions, they'll give me the information. And so you don't have to necessarily be assertive, but be firm with your questions. Like, hey, can I get your email? I'm gonna send you some listings. I'm not gonna email you all the time, but anything that I come across that I think you might like, I'll email it over. And then I'm just ready to type it in.
I think I'm trying to get rid of the fluff. I have a lot of fluff in my sentences, like, oh, if you please don't mind to do this.
And you'll get there. You'll get there. That is definitely something that comes with time too. And how old are you?
Just
I don't
turned
mean to,
21
like, I know you're a
yesterday.
successful woman your age, but you're how old?
21 yesterday.
21, okay. You will lose the fluff as you get older. It will come along with it, I think. I'm 26. When I was 21, I was a huge people pleaser. And I wanted like everybody to love me and like me. And then as I got older, I started to realize that I don't care if people don't like me. And I don't care if they thought I was rude when I asked for their phone number at an open house. Because the reality is I may not ever see them again. So I'm not gonna spend any time worrying about it. But when you're doing those opens, just find a way to be firm with your questions. And people will develop more respect for you when you are direct than you are overly kind. You can be overly kind and direct though. But nobody likes a pushover. So always stand your ground and always be firm with your questions too. And don't feel bad for that either. Like, don't ever get in your car after the open house and be like, I was so rude to that client, like, cause I asked for their phone number, like, and I didn't say please. Like, don't feel bad about that. Like, just go for it. Because you cannot ever be afraid of going after anything that you want. Like, if you want to get somebody's contact information, get it. Like, just get it. What is stopping you from doing that? And it's your own fears. But you can work through that. And that's something that as you get more experience and you start doing more open houses and you start talking to more people, you'll come up with your own system. And you will not be afraid to ask for that information. It will come. It will come. You can do it.
Thank you. They want to know that you can fight and negotiate
That's
offers.
exactly it.
Yes.
A seller is not gonna hire, you know, an agent that they don't feel like can go to bat for them. Like, a seller wants somebody that is going to have their back and make things happen. You have to be firm in this business. And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes in negotiations, if I'm tired, and I mean, I'm just admitting my mistakes here. Like, sometimes I pay for things I shouldn't. I've bought 3 refrigerators this year and we're 26 days in. So I have 3 refrigerators out there that I own that I will never use. But it's because it was exhausted. I didn't want to argue and I didn't want to negotiate. So I bought 3 refrigerators. I'm not saying that you should do that.
Don't do that.
I'm just saying that like, hold your ground so that you don't end up buying 3 refrigerators.
Read through the listing, everything.
But you know, it's one of those things, guys, you know, you gotta stay sharp in this business. And if you plug in and do these things that Ignite is wanting you to implement, you will come out ahead. But don't be the 90% of the agents that get out of the business in the first 12 months. Don't do that. You spend all this time getting your licenses and putting in the work and the effort, plug in and play with everything we have. There are so many tools that just as a brokerage we have that no other brokerage has, that you have total advantage. Just being at this market center gives you a competitive edge over every other broker in town. And clients know that too. Like, I have clients that specifically have said, we went with you because you're at Keller Williams and we know that there's national coverage. Not all brokerages have national coverage here.
Worldwide, come on now.
We have worldwide too, yeah, no, we are, like, plug in to this stuff, guys. It's a lot in the beginning, and I understand that, but trust the process. Stay plugged in, don't give up, and stay on top of this stuff. Get it implemented, and it may take a little bit, but the rewards will come. If you put in the work, it will have a return. So just don't give up. Keep pushing forward. Have faith in yourself. Hit the ground running. I know it sucks sometimes. That's where wine comes in for me. But you can do it. I have faith in all of you. If you really just plug in and make this a priority for yourselves, you guys will all have very successful businesses. All right, only 2 minutes left. Anything that you guys have questions on or want me to touch on before I wrap this up? Did you guys take things away? I hope. Okay, I see most people shaking their heads, so I'll take that as a good thing.
What's the most showings you've had to do in a day? I'm still
No,
laughing.
she's laughing. I don't know what she's doing.
I'm with you.
Yes, yes. Now she's asking questions.
I think like I've shown probably like 15 houses in a day, mostly all like new construction stuff though, like 5, 6, all within the same neighborhoods. You know, so like 3 different neighborhoods are going to like 5 different floor plans and 3 different. So But for most records, like for a certain client, Pauline and I had a client that I'm pretty sure we showed over 60 some houses to in 2 years. I'm not kidding. It was an insane amount of homes over a 2 year period. They finally bought. They've done 4 transactions with us, but 60 some odd homes. I think we were at 68.
They currently live in my neighborhood? Is that who you're talking about? No?
No, if I could talk about them, I would.
Well, not today, because that was cyberbullying. So- Guys, can we say thank you to Austin for doing that? I unfortunately missed a lot of it, but I know this guy and I know there was lots of good nuggets in there. So,
Hopefully.
well, for sure. Thank you. Thank you.
If not, you can call me. I'll try to make up for it.
No, he's great. He's great. Awesome. So guys, we have seen quite a few different types of agents and businesses, and you guys are really getting a well-rounded look at what real estate looks like. What's really neat about these people too is, you know, they've all given you their phone numbers and their email addresses. If you've got questions, if you missed it and you had to, what are you
I
doing?
was looking for
What is
the
happening?
white.
Oh,
I guess we don't have a eraser marker.
no, I don't know. Somebody took it. If you missed something and you're watching the video later and you've got questions, reach out to them. This is part of the gig. So, awesome. So far, we've got one more tomorrow, and then I think we're kind of nearing the end, right? We've got 20 sessions total. We end first week of February, right? So we got about another week left. Do you guys feel bigger, stronger, faster, better yet? I should see all the heads nodding. I hope. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. This is your time to do your daily successes, right? Find your accountability partner, role play, talk through situations, talk through scenarios, do your handwritten cards. Like I said, I got a bunch in the back. Do your Facebook posts, make calls to people, conjure up business, right? Cool. All right. Have at it, friends.
Did social media get rescheduled?
Not yet. I'm waiting. It'll probably be, well, let me ask you guys, would you prefer it to be just thrown on a Friday? Or try to push it into a double day? What would you guys prefer? How about this? If you would like me to put it on to a Friday, raise your hand.
We don't have a Friday left, do we?
I'll make a Friday. I have the ability to make Fridays. Do you not know this?
Wow.
I was thinking, if you guys are good with it, just tacking it on to the end.
Did you send an email with that link of the video that we watched? Trying to
Thought
remember.
so.
Okay.
The social media video?
Yeah.
I thought so. I will go back and double check because it could still be sitting in my drafts. That's real life right there. Awesome. I'm gonna end this meeting.